Hello, everyone. Welcome to our lesson 5. So in our last lesson, we started the unit of relationship. And the first class I remember during the Q&A, one student asked a very good question. He said, in the PERMAS, the 6 dimensions, is there any order? Which one is more important or significant than the others? And I told people at that time that different people have different, different dimension means different things to different people. A lot of people feel that, oh, if I have that A, the accomplishment, I'm pretty happy. My happiness will raise. But most of the research shows actually it's the R, relationship, that matters the most to people's overall success and overall sense of happiness. As I mentioned to you, Harvard did a 75-year longitudinal study called Harvard Grant Study or Harvard Adult Study. So this Dr. George Vaillant is one of their 4 directors for this study, because the study ran so long, they have to change directors, and he's one of them. And he actually published a book based on the findings of this study. And this is his conclusion: the 75 years and the $20 million, that's how much time and money they spend on this study, the Harvard Grant Study, points to one straightforward 5-word conclusion: happiness is love, full stop. That's how important relationship is. I shared a little bit with you about this study. And this is another psychologist and also economist, Dr. Daniel Kahneman. And he was named one of the 7 most influential psychologists in the history. And this is his famous quote: "It's only a slight exaggeration to say that happiness is the experience of spending time with people you love and who love you." I hope you're fully enjoying your shelter-in-place time because you're surrounded by people who love you. And I understand, don't get me wrong, I understand. Based on your questions, I get it. Sometimes you don't feel that love from your parents. But trust me, I'm a parent too of 2 teenager boys. I know they sometimes tell me that, they were annoyed by me, or they simply don't feel the love from me. But as a mom, I can assure you, and a psychologist, we love you. We're also learning. Love, as the previous 2 psychologists shared with you, is significant to our well-being. Like our psychological needs, one of the 3 is also relatedness. Without you feel being respected and loved, you don't have that sense of security, you will not have intrinsic motivation to develop to your fullest with that autonomy. You don't feel that comes to your from the bottom of your heart. And these are some questions that I want to share with you. I truly appreciate those who raised such great questions at our last lesson. What should I do when my parents argue, fight, and have a bad relationship? Rest assured, there are only 2 kinds of things in the world. One kind is we can control, the other kind is that we cannot control. So this is one thing your parents need to work among themselves. Yes, as I shared and emphasized in our last class, parental relationship is significant to children's well-being. I've wrote a lot about that. I shared a lot about that in my seminars. So if parents want their children to be successful and happy in the future, number 1 thing they need to do is improve their marital relationship. So the better they get along with each other, the more love they can give out to their children, and the more secure their children will gather and grow throughout the 18 years we are together. What if my parents skip criticism and go straight to threatening me? Or what if my parents don't care what I say to them and when they criticize me? What to do when my parents don't trust me and always shout at me? Thank you so much for all these questions. I want to share one thing with you. Parents, like I'm one of them, we're learning too. We're not born trained as parents. We most of the time react or raise our children based on our past experiences. For example, how your grandparents raised your parents. So a lot of our reactions are automatic. It's for example, I used to, my father used to frown a lot. So I didn't notice that. When I went to college at age 16, my roommate asked me, why you always frown when there's nothing wrong? So I didn't realize that. And I look back and I realized that I do that because it's a reflection of my father's facial expression. So because he never smiled, he always had a frown. So I really had this this shape on my forehead because I was frowning, simply reflecting what I saw day after day, year after year during my first 16 years. So we do not mean to hurt our children at all. Sometimes we do, just like we talk about, we talked about the nonviolent communication. Sometimes we didn't mean to be violent or to hurt you, but we don't know how the other way of communication, because the only way we know is the way that we were treated or raised when we were children. So in another word, if you saw that your parents are using violent kind of communication or hurtful insults to you, I would bet that 99% of the chance is that that's the only way they know how to communicate with other people. They don't know any other more constructive ways. They are a victim too. They are a victim of the way that they were raised, and they are repeating the pattern that the only way they know how to raise children is the way they were raised. So give your mom and dad a chance to learn. If you saw that they made a mistake, for example, they don't trust you and shout at you, or they do not give you a chance to explain, they just criticize you, wait until they calm down and share with them. There are other ways to communicate with me that is more effective. My 15-year-old son always tell me that, Mommy, if you want me to listen to you, make me like you. So they need to be more likable. I'm one of them. I'm learning too. I make a lot of mistakes, even though I've been studying in the field of psychology for the past 25 years or so as a licensed psychologist or licensed school psychologist and educational psychologist. For the last 18 years, I make my mistake too. There are times I cannot control my emotions, especially when I'm under stress. So, but after I realize my mistake, I apologize. Give your parents a chance. They're learning too. Nobody was born perfect parent. So if your parents want to learn how to communicate with you more efficiently, this is a good book to recommend to them. So I will, I also shared this with the parent group after yesterday's lesson. So we're learning too. Give your parents a chance, tell them, use what we learned last lesson, share with them that do not be judgmental, just use the facts. If you see something I did not do well, state the facts. For example, I noticed that, or I observed that you spent the last 2 hours on your computer. This is a good time to turn off the computer and go out for a walk. So that's all. So state the facts and state what they want, the request. So sometimes we have strong feelings and then we state our feelings and needs. Trust me, all the negative behavior are based on, stemmed from unmet needs. Unmet needs. For example, our needs to be loved or respected was not met. If we do not follow the rules, they take that as a disrespect to their authority. So those are unmet needs, and then develop into negative behavior. Unfortunately, negative behavior never get us anywhere. Don't get our request met, especially at your age. You're at the age, 10 to 12 is preteen, and 13 to 19 is teenagers. And this is when you want to find out who you are, and you want to see what you can do and what you cannot, and you want others to value you as an individual and want others to treat you as adult, growing adult. So there's a conflict when your parents felt that you are still in the age of needing to learn a lot of things, versus you feel like, oh, I'm as tall as you, I know as much as you, and I want to set up my own rule. So there's a conflict that we need to resolve, especially during the time of shelter in place, when we spend so much time together, we got to find a way to communicate more efficiently to get along better. Otherwise, it's going to be a painful experience for all of us. All right, we're going to enter our class. Today is the 5th lesson, boundary versus freedom. So why are there so many rules? I want you to ask yourself this question. There are rules everywhere. There are rules in school that you can, for example, you cannot put your hoodie up in class, or you have to change for PE. Rules that you cannot talk when the teacher is giving instructions. And rules at home. You have to go to bed at a certain time. And rules on the road. There are traffic laws. There are rules too. So why are there so many rules? Have you ever think about that? Have you ever thought about that? We had this discussion in our church youth group, and I was really impressed when the teacher asked the youth, do you want to live a life without any rules? Only a small percentage said they want. Majority of our teenagers recognize that rules are there to protect us, to make sure that we are safe. Imagine the world without any traffic law. Do you dare to drive your car on the road? You don't. Imagine there's no rules in school. Is it safe for you to sit there? Anybody can do anything in class and outside. Do you dare to go to school? No, because people are going to do wild things that may put you in danger. How about a household without rules? Do you dare to live there?